Well, thank you very much both for taking time out of your busy days to have a chat about this. So I've got a few questions, just a small number of questions. My first question really is: we've seen Ubuntu-like solutions before. Pink being one example of this. Could you explain a little bit about the background and the thought process and the steps that have taken you through to launching this first certified release, and really what kind of led you to it? I mean, I think it's an amazing thing. So I'd just like to understand the journey a little bit more.
Sure. So I'll take a stab at this. Xilinx customers have known about our leading edge hardware for a long time, and for quite a while that was enough to get people to the table. But as we transition into this new world where there's more integration across the board, you have to bring software to the table too. And we were looking at our demographic of customers and realized that, a lot of our customers want to have as much of an ease of use solution as possible, whether it's the Xilinx silicon or the software, and bringing those things together. So we looked around the Linux community, and Ubuntu is probably the most commonly recognized name in the Linux community. And so we chose to partner with Ubuntu to bring a certified Ubuntu release to the table. And if you look around, like even something like you mentioned, Pink, we used Pink in the open source way, right? Where we took Ubuntu and we recompiled it from source. But that's a great thing, but it only does so much for customers. What this certified image does is it allows customers to have an end-to-end experience with Ubuntu. You can download the image from ubuntu.com, you can prototype on it, and then as you choose to whether or not you want to take a product into market, you can actually work with Canonical and negotiate service agreements and things like that for making your device into a product.
That's really exciting. I think that service level side of things and that support makes a really big difference to the user journey and the user story. So if I can, actually, this is an interesting point because obviously your devices are kind of unique in that you've got the processing system and the programmable logic in there. So eventually, obviously, I believe this image, the examples I've worked with, they come with a standard sort of PL design in there. But eventually, users are going to want to create their own programmable logic design and load it in there. How easy is it for the engineers and developers to do that with this release?
Yeah, so I mean, we really saw two kind of use cases initially. One was evaluation users, one was people that actually want to do development. So, for the evaluation types, we wanted to have a good out of the box experience. We want to have a couple of PL designs ready to go. You could use that have multimedia. They have our Xilinx DPU, so you can do machine learning applications, and some of the packages built in like Vitis AI and XRT. But we knew at some point, with the nature of FPGAs, these folks are going to want to go off and start doing some customizations. They're going to want to build a custom platform. They're going to want to change the architecture of the DPU to be more powerful or more efficient. What we did was we up front, we put in some provisions for this. We created a snap, and basically, if you haven't heard of snaps, it's basically a containerized application used in the Ubuntu ecosystem. And this snap is called Xilinx config. And what it does is it handles swapping what we call the boot assets of the system. And the boot assets would be the bitstream, the firmware, bootloaders, device tree blobs, basically anything that you would see in a typical boot.bin. If you're familiar with Zinc, you know what a boot.bin is, right? So what this Xilinx config snap does is it takes a boot assets package. That package could be installed in the system as a snap. It could be manually copied into the system in a particular format with some metadata. And we've got this documented on our wiki. But at the end of the day, what it does is it takes those boot assets and on system, on target, it runs bootgen and creates a new boot.bin in the file system. And then as part of what we call the platform activation process, it will take that new boot.bin and put it on the FAT partition, okay? And so I won't go into too many gory details about how we boot, but essentially we have multiple boot.bins on our FAT partition for individual boards. And we have a way to have this Xilinx config, put it into a spot where it will get picked up ahead of the golden image using our multi-boot registers. So once we do that, then it takes a reboot of the system boots up, and we have a new set of boot assets. So we got a new bit stream. We've got a new device tree that takes advantage of that bit stream. So, once we got that, now we're running a full custom system with the same kernel, the same root file system, everything, all the packages that you've installed before, and you can do your work on your new customized system.
That's really quite exciting. I think I'll have to give that a try. I've got a couple of your boards, so I'm gonna have to give that a try. And I know briefly we said we wouldn't talk about it too much, but it is the same boot image as well, isn't it? For the 102 and the 104 and the supported boards, which is
so they're all there in the image. And then the nice thing is we can always go in and deactivate that custom platform, return back to the golden image. We haven't broken anything. You can always get back to what you put on the system initially. And essentially what we try to do is put into this place a system that allows a little bit of flexibility for custom platforms, but it also attempts to keep users on a path where they can't break their system. And we can always take them back to a known good, working system where they can do development with the vanilla system that we give them.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's really quite cool. So when it comes to working with and creating this sort of, creating the programmable logic overlay is one element of it. How do developers work with sort of Vitis and Vitis AI, that the higher levels of the stack where a lot of work's going off today, and particularly in the AI interface?
Yeah, and obviously this is something that drove us down this path because we wanted to enable this type of customer that's doing machine learning development and acceleration development. So starting with just the Vitis AI part, since all of these initial platforms have a DPU built into them, and we have XRT and Vitis AI all pre-installed, you can get started right away building Vitis AI applications. You can easily just clone the sample applications from the Vitis AI GitHub repo, build on target, customize and build your own apps, things like that. So that's right out of the box, you have that ability. Really the easiest method we talked about the evaluation user would be we have another snap we created called Xilinx Vitis AI lib samples. And what that snap does is it has already pre-built all of the Vitis AI library sample applications and wrapped them into one snap. So they're all there and you can run any of these with any of the models in the model zoo. And instead of having a gigabyte of these models on your system, it downloads them all on demand as you need them. So it's a really easy way to get started, go and take any of our models on our model zoo, run the application, see how it works and go from there. Then you can build your own if you want to.
Oh, that sounds really exciting.
Yeah, it's a neat little thing, and we feel like it gives you a nice out of the box experience, and then you can kind of go off on the tangent that you want to go off on. For the Vitis acceleration flow, it's a little bit different since when you run that build flow, you get a different bit stream, and you really get a different bit stream and a full set of boot assets. So we're going back to the Xilinx config snap. A Vitis acceleration build flow is going to give you a new set of these boot assets. So what we're going to need to do in that case is go into that Vitis build, which typically gives you an SD card image, right, that comes out of the Vitis build flow. But really all those boot assets are also there. Yeah. And as long as you know where they are, you can go pull them in, put them into this package that Xilinx config knows how to process and get those onto your system. So it is a bit of a manual process right now, and we're looking at things in the future. I'll let Tony talk about that, but it is a way to go off and take another full custom application out of Vitis, out of your Vitis acceleration flow, and put it on the system and start developing software around it.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting, and I like how it all kind of works together. And you pulled out just what's needed from the model zoo, and that you've given a little bit of thought, and it's like everything. There's always a roadmap in there and products and sort of iteration. I must admit, actually, you were nice enough to give me access to your early access thing, which I tried and I found really easy. And then the other day, once it had been released, I went through the full sort of canonical flow. And actually, I've just taken on a graduate actually, so I had him go through that whole, and he found it really nice and quite simple, and easy to get up and going as well. So it's really nice. So I guess that comes on to my last question then, which is, so you mentioned sort of like Vitis and the what might come next, and you were hinting at Tony might have some things to mention. So I mean, what comes next with this? Any hints or teasers you'd like to share with anybody as to what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as Terry mentioned, right now, if you've gone through the Ubuntu.com download flow, which if anyone listening to this, I highly encourage you to go take a look at what we have out there. It's at ubuntu.com/download/Xilinx. What you do is you get a normal SD card image like you would for any other board that you're downloading an SD card image from anyone on Ubuntu.com. But in addition, we also provide you like the kernel image and the root file system image and things like that. Everything that needs to plug into Vitis. As Terry mentioned, right now it's a little bit of a manual process to stitch those things together. So we're working with the Vitis team to automate a lot of that so that you can have those things on hand and then just plug them into the Vitis tool, and all of those images, every time you generate a new configuration, would be automated and you can just throw them over onto your board. And then obviously we're looking at what other solutions can we do with this Ubuntu image. So, as we mentioned at the top of the interview, Pink has been doing something similar for a while where they've been recompiling everything from scratch, but we're working with the Pink team to investigate how can they maybe bring their existing infrastructure over to an official Ubuntu image and then bring Pink into that officially supported ecosystem. And then also, I can't ignore the elephant in the room. Like the Kriya SOM is just an amazing piece of technology. And so we're investigating how can we bring this to the Kriya SOM family as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see it on the Kriya SOM. Actually, I think that'll be quite nice. But I mean, at the moment, so the boards it supports is the 102, the 104, the 106. Is it?
Correct. Yeah, and that is a unified image. And one thing I want to, Terry mentioned this a couple of times, we have a ton of collateral out on the Xilinx wikis at wiki.xilinx.com. We've got a whole bunch of just getting started walkthroughs, but we've also been putting together some advanced topics there. So if you want to push the boundaries of what you can do with these official certified Ubuntu on Xilinx devices images, we are putting out advanced tutorials out there as well. So check frequently because we're constantly brainstorming and putting new ideas out there.
Yeah, when I publish the video, I'll make sure I put links into all of your assets and such that people can go and keep an eye on it and keep up with it. But just quickly wrap it up, guys. But thank you very much for taking the time out of your day. I realize you're both busy people, and thank you very much for accommodating the time difference. And yeah, I'm sure the readers of the blog will be really happy to go grab an image and start taking a look at it and give us some feedback on it. So.
Yeah, please do.